Kate Morrison stood at the bridge window and watched the green planet grow larger. 3 weeks in space had brought her team to this moment. First contact with an alien race. The Velthari had sent peaceful messages for months. They wanted to meet humans. They wanted to learn about Earth culture. The UES Horizon moved into orbit around Kepler 442b. Kate checked her uniform one more time. As lieutenant commander, she would lead the diplomatic team down to the surface. Her stomach felt tight with nerves. "All systems ready, Commander," said Alex Carter from his station. The young doctor had studied alien life for years, but this would be his first real meeting with another species. His hands shook slightly as he ran final checks on the biological scanners. Ryan Blake walked onto the bridge. The security chief wore his dress uniform, but kept his sidearm ready. "Transport bay is prepared. Marines are standing by if we need them." Kate nodded. The plan was simple. Take a small team to the surface. Meet with the Velthari leaders. Exchange gifts and basic information. Return to the ship. Easy. "Dan, are you getting clear signals from the surface?" Kate asked. Dan Torres looked up from his communications panel. "Yes, Commander, they're still transmitting welcome messages. Same coordinates as before. Landing zone is clear." Kate took a deep breath. "Lisa, how long until we can launch?" Engineer Lisa Park checked her screens. "Transport shuttle is fueled and ready. All equipment is loaded. We can leave whenever you give the word." "Then let's make history," Kate said. The shuttle ride to the surface took 20 minutes. Kate sat with her team and reviewed the mission files one more time. The Velthari were tall, elegant beings. They had pale skin and large eyes. Their messages showed advanced technology but peaceful intentions. They lived in harmony with their forest world. Jake Sullivan, their Marine sergeant, sat quietly in the corner. He had volunteered for the security detail. His job was to watch and protect while the diplomats talked. The shuttle touched down in a clearing surrounded by massive trees. Kate stepped out first and breathed alien air for the first time. It smelled like flowers and earth. The gravity felt almost the same as Earth. 3 Velthari waited at the edge of the clearing. They were even taller than the pictures had shown. Nearly 8 feet high. They moved with grace as they approached. The leader stepped forward. "Welcome, humans from Earth. I am High Arbiter Zethvar. We have waited long to meet you." Kate smiled and extended her hand. "I am Lieutenant Commander Kate Morrison. We are honored to be here." Zethvar looked at her hand for a moment, then reached out with his own. His skin felt cold and smooth. His grip was firm, but gentle. "Come," Zethvar said. "We have prepared a place for our meeting. You must be tired from your journey." The Velthari led them through the forest on a path made of smooth stones. Kate noticed how quietly they moved. Their feet made no sound even on the hard surface. The other 2 aliens stayed behind the group watching. Alex Carter walked beside Kate, constantly scanning with his instruments. "Fascinating," he whispered. "Their movement patterns are unlike anything I've studied." The Velthari settlement appeared between the trees like a dream. Buildings grew from the forest itself, shaped from living wood and stone. Soft lights glowed, without any visible power source. Water flowed in channels carved through the center of each structure. "Your home is beautiful," Kate said. "Thank you," Zethvar replied. "We believe in living with our world, not against it." Perhaps humans could learn such ways. They entered a large hall where more Velthari waited. Kate counted at least 20 of them, all watching the human visitors with intense interest. She felt like a specimen under examination. A long table filled the center of the room. Food and drink covered its surface. Strange fruits and vegetables mixed with dishes Kate could not identify. "Please sit and eat with us," Zethvar said. "Food shared makes friendship strong." Kate and her team took seats on one side of the table. The Velthari sat across from them. She noticed how they all seemed to focus on Ryan Blake as he moved. Their large eyes followed his every gesture. Alex Carter carefully scanned the food before eating. His instruments showed everything was safe for human consumption. The fruits were sweet. The vegetables tasted like nothing from Earth but were pleasant enough. "Tell us about your world," Zethvar said as they ate. "We have seen your messages, but we want to hear from you directly." Kate began to describe Earth. She talked about the oceans and mountains. She spoke of cities filled with millions of people. She explained how humans had learned to travel between stars. The Velthari listened carefully. They asked many questions about human strength and speed. They wanted to know about human senses and reflexes. They seemed very interested in how humans hunted for food in ancient times. "Do humans still hunt?" asked one of the other Velthari. "Some do for sport," Kate answered. "But most of our food comes from farms now." The aliens exchanged glances that Kate did not understand. As the meal continued, Alex Carter began to look worried. He kept checking his scanner readings. Finally, he leaned close to Kate. "Commander," he whispered, "something's wrong with this food. It's not poisonous, but there are compounds that might affect human reflexes over time." Kate kept her expression neutral, but her mind started racing. Why would the Velthari want to slow human reflexes? Ryan Blake stood up to stretch his legs. "Mind if I take a look around? This architecture is incredible." "Of course," Zethvar said. "But please stay close. Our world can be dangerous for those who do not know its ways." Blake nodded and walked toward a side passage. Kate watched as several Velthari eyes followed him. There was something predatory in their gaze that made her skin crawl. She excused herself a few minutes later. "I should check on my security chief." Kate followed the passage Blake had taken. The corridor curved deeper into the building. She could hear voices ahead. Blake was talking to someone. But there was another sound, something wet and tearing. Kate crept forward and peered around a corner. What she saw froze her blood. Ryan Blake lay on the floor, unconscious. 3 Velthari stood over him, but they looked nothing like the elegant beings in the dining hall. Their skin had changed color, matching the walls perfectly. Their limbs had stretched longer. Sharp claws extended from their fingers. One of them was examining Blake's arm, running a claw along the muscle. "Strong," it said in a voice like grinding stone. "This one would provide good sport before feeding." Kate pressed herself against the wall, fighting the urge to scream. The Velthari were not peaceful diplomats. They were predators, and humans were their chosen prey. She had to get back to her team. She had to warn them. But as she turned to leave, she found Zethvar standing behind her. His appearance had not changed yet, but his eyes held a new coldness. "You were not supposed to see that, Kate Morrison." Kate's hand moved to her sidearm. "What have you done to my officer?" "Nothing permanent. Yet." Zethvar smiled, showing teeth that were far too sharp for herbivores. "We wanted to study him first, learn about human anatomy. It makes the hunt more interesting." Kate drew her weapon. "Let him go." Zethvar laughed. "You still do not understand. You are not guests here. You are prey. We have been hunting intelligent species across the galaxy for thousands of years. Humans will be our greatest challenge yet." Kate backed away slowly. "My ship is expecting regular contact. If we don't report in..." "Your ship is already compromised," Zethvar said. "Some of my people are very good at taking other forms. Your crew believes they are still speaking with you." Kate's blood turned to ice. Her team was trapped on the surface. Her ship was infiltrated, and somewhere in this building, monsters wearing friendly faces were preparing to hunt them all. She ran. Kate ran through the curved hallways as fast as her legs could carry her. Behind her, she heard Zethvar calling out in his own language. The sound was nothing like the smooth, diplomatic voice he had used before. This was harsh and commanding. She needed to reach her team before the other Velthari revealed their true nature. Kate pulled out her communicator as she ran. "Alex, Dan, Lisa, Jake, emergency extraction. Get to the shuttle now." Static answered her. The aliens were jamming their communications. Kate cursed and kept running. The dining hall appeared ahead. Kate slowed and peered inside. Her team still sat at the table, but something had changed. The Velthari around them had moved closer. Their postures looked different, more aggressive. Kate burst into the room. Everyone move. Now get to the shuttle. Alex Carter looked up, in confusion. Kate, what's wrong? They're not what they seem, Kate shouted. The Velthari are predators. They hunt intelligent species. We need to leave right now. The Velthari in the room stopped pretending to be friendly. Their skin began to shift and change color. Their limbs stretched longer. Claws extended from their fingers. Their faces became angular and sharp. Jake Sullivan reacted first. The Marine. Sergeant grabbed his rifle and opened fire. The energy blasts hit the nearest Velthari and sent it flying backward into the wall. Move, 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 Jake yelled. Dan Torres jumped up from the table and ran toward Kate. Lisa Park was right behind him. Alex Carter grabbed his scanner and followed. The transformed Velthari lunged forward with incredible speed. One of them reached for Lisa with claws that gleamed like knives. Jake's second shot caught it in the chest and dropped it. Kate led her team toward the exit. More Velthari appeared in the doorways, blocking their escape routes. These were already in their hunting forms. They moved like liquid shadow, perfectly silent. Back door, Kate shouted. The way we came in. They fought their way through the building. Jake's rifle kept the predators back, but Kate could see more of them gathering. The aliens were coordinating their attack, trying to surround the humans. The forest clearing came into view. Their shuttle sat where they had left it, but Kate could see movement around it. More Velthari waited near the transport. They're everywhere, Dan said. Kate made a quick decision. We can't reach the shuttle. We go into the forest, try to lose them in the trees. What about Ryan? Alex asked. Kate felt sick thinking about her security chief, but she knew the truth. He's gone. If we go back, we all die. They ran into the forest as energy blasts lit up the clearing behind them. The Velthari were no longer trying to capture them alive. The hunt had begun. Kate led her team deeper into the woods. The massive trees provided cover, but she knew the aliens knew this terrain better than any human could. They were running blind while their enemies had every advantage. Commander, Jake called out between breaths. How many of them are there? I don't know, Kate replied. Too many. They ran for what felt like hours but was probably only minutes. Kate's lungs burned and her legs ached. Behind them she could hear the sounds of pursuit. Branches breaking, leaves rustling. The Velthari were following their trail. A fallen log blocked their path. The team climbed over it and kept running. On the other side, the forest opened into a small valley filled with strange plants. The vegetation glowed with soft bioluminescent light. Wait, Alex said, stopping suddenly. My scanner is picking up something. Kate grabbed his arm. We don't have time for science right now. No, listen, Alex insisted. These plants, they're producing chemical compounds that might interfere with Velthari sensory organs. Lisa looked back the way they had come. I can hear them getting closer. Kate made another quick decision. Alex, grab samples. Fast. Everyone else, keep moving. Alex stuffed several glowing plants into his sample containers. The team continued, through the valley and up the far slope. At the top of the ridge, Kate called for a brief rest. They were all exhausted. Dan was bleeding from a cut on his arm where a branch had caught him. Lisa's uniform was torn in several places. Jake still carried his rifle, but Kate could see he was running low on ammunition. How's our situation, Jake? Kate asked. The Marine sergeant checked his weapon. 2 power cells left, maybe 40 shots total. After that, we're down to sidearms and whatever we can improvise. Kate nodded. She had known this would happen. Humans were not equipped for extended combat against an entire species on their homeworld. Commander, Dan said quietly. What did you see back there? What happened to Ryan? Kate looked at her communications officer. Dan was young, barely out of the academy. He deserved to know what they were facing. The Velthari are hunters, Kate said. They lure intelligent species to their world by pretending to be peaceful. Then they hunt them for sport and food. Ryan was being examined like a piece of meat. Alex Carter looked up from his samples. That explains the questions during dinner. They were studying our physical capabilities, learning our weaknesses. How long have they been doing this? Lisa asked. Zethvar said thousands of years, Kate replied. We're just their latest victims. Jake spat on the ground. Well, they picked the wrong species to mess with. A sound echoed from the valley below. Howling, but not from any earth animal Kate had ever heard. The sound was electronic and organic at the same time. What was that? Dan whispered. Alex checked his scanner. Large life forms approaching, moving fast. I think they've released hunting animals. Kate felt her heart sink. Bad enough they were being pursued by the Velthari themselves. Now the aliens had sent trained predators after them as well. How far to the shuttle? Lisa asked. Kate checked her position tracker. 6 kilometers, but it doesn't matter. They'll be waiting for us. What about the ship? Dan suggested. Can we signal the horizon? Zethvar said they've infiltrated it, Kate replied. Some Velthari can shapeshift. The crew thinks they're still talking to us. The howling came again, closer this time. Kate could see movement in the forest below. Dark shapes moving between the trees with unnatural speed. We keep moving, Kate decided. Find a place to make a stand. Maybe we can take some of them with us. They ran along the ridgeline, staying in the cover of the trees. Kate's mind raced as she tried to think of options. They were outnumbered, outgunned, and fighting on enemy territory. The smart thing would be to surrender and hope for a quick death. But Kate Morrison had not become a lieutenant commander by giving up when things looked impossible. Humans had faced extinction before. They had survived ice ages and plagues and wars that should have ended their species. They had climbed to the top of Earth's food chain not through strength or speed, but through stubborn refusal to quit. Commander, Jake called out. I've got an idea. Kate slowed down. What? Jake pointed to a rocky outcrop ahead. Those rocks. Good defensive position, multiple escape routes. If we're going to fight, that's where we do it. Kate studied the terrain. Jake was right. The rocks formed a natural fortress with clear sight lines in all directions. They could see enemies coming from any direction. Alex, what about those plant samples you took? Kate asked. The doctor pulled out his containers. Still analyzing, but preliminary readings suggest these compounds could cause temporary blindness. In Velthari physiology, can you weaponize them? Alex thought for a moment. Maybe. I'd need Lisa's help with the delivery system. Lisa Park had been listening. I can rig something. Give me 20 minutes and some basic materials. The howling came again. Much closer now. Kate could see shapes moving up the valley toward their position. We don't have 20 minutes, she said, but we'll give you what we can. They reached the rocky outcrop and quickly set up defensive positions. Jake found good cover with clear firing lanes. Dan and Kate took positions on either flank. Alex and Lisa worked frantically on their improvised weapons. The first hunting beast appeared at the edge of the tree line. It looked like a cross between a wolf and a lizard the size of a small horse. Its eyes glowed yellow in the dim forest light. Ugly thing, Jake muttered, taking aim. More beasts emerged from the forest. Kate counted at least 8 of them. They moved with the coordinated precision of a pack that had hunted together many times. Behind the hunting animals, Kate could see the Velthari themselves. They had returned to their elegant diplomatic forms, but Kate knew what they really were. Underneath, Zethvar stepped out of the trees. Even at this distance, Kate could see his cold smile. Kate Morrison, he called out. You have led us on an entertaining chase, but it ends now. Surrender and we will make your deaths quick. Kate stood up on the rock so the alien leader could see her clearly. I've got a better idea, she shouted back. Run now, while you still can. Zethvar laughed. The sound echoed through the forest like breaking glass. You are 5 exhausted humans with limited weapons, surrounded by dozens of my finest hunters. What could you possibly do to threaten us? Kate smiled grimly. You're about to find out. The first wave of hunting beasts charged up the slope toward the rocky outcrop. Kate had expected them to attack in a coordinated assault. Instead, they spread out and approached from multiple angles. Jake Sullivan opened fire with his rifle. The first energy blast caught the lead creature center mass and sent it tumbling backward down the hill. But two more beasts immediately took its place. They're testing us, Kate realized, learning our capabilities. Alex Carter looked up from his work. Just like they did during dinner, these hunters study their prey. Lisa Park finished connecting wires to a small metal cylinder. Delivery system is ready, but I only have materials for 3 of these improvised weapons. The hunting beasts pulled back after Jake dropped 2 more of them. They regrouped at the tree line just out of effective range. Kate could see them communicating with the Velthari through some form of gesture language. They're adapting their strategy, Dan observed. Learning from the first attack. Jake checked his ammunition. 1 power cell left. Maybe 20 shots. Kate studied the enemy positions below. The Velthari were spread out through the forest, using the massive trees for cover. She could count at least 15 of them, but there were probably more she could not see. Alex, how do those plant compounds work? Kate asked. The doctor held up one of his samples. The bioluminescent chemicals react with certain proteins found in Velthari optical organs. Should cause temporary blindness and severe disorientation. How temporary? Maybe 10 minutes. 15 at most. Kate nodded. That might be enough time to break through their encirclement. But first they had to survive the next assault. The hunting beasts charged again. This time they came from 3 directions at once, forcing the humans to divide their fire. Jake dropped 1 beast, but 2 others reached the base of the rocks. Dan, Torres opened fire with his sidearm. His shots were less powerful than Jake's rifle, but they kept the creatures back. Kate added her own fire to the defense. One of the beasts found a path up the back of the outcrop. It leaped onto the rocks behind them, claws extended and jaws open. Lisa Park turned and threw her improvised chemical weapon directly into its face. The cylinder burst on impact, releasing a cloud of glowing particles. The beast howled in pain and confusion, clawing at its eyes. It stumbled backward and fell off the rocks. "It works!" Lisa shouted. But their celebration was short-lived. The Velthari had used the beast attack as cover to move closer. Kate could see them positioning themselves for a direct assault on the human position. "Jake, how many more shots?" Kate asked. 12. Maybe 10. Kate made a hard decision. Save them. We're going to need every shot for what comes next. The Velthari attack came without warning. One moment the forest was quiet. The next it was full of moving shadows. The aliens had shifted to their hunting forms and were using their natural camouflage to blend with the environment. Kate could barely track their movement. They flowed like liquid darkness between the trees and rocks. Only when they moved across patches of sunlight could she get clear shots. Alex threw his second chemical weapon at a group of 3 Velthari, climbing the front face of the outcrop. The explosion of glowing particles caught all 3 of them. They screamed and fell backward, temporarily blinded. But more were coming. Kate counted at least 8 Velthari closing on their position from different angles. "We can't hold this. Position," Jake said, firing his rifle at targets that vanished as soon as he aimed at them. Kate looked around desperately for options. To their north, the ridgeline continued toward higher ground. To the south, the slope dropped into another valley. East and west were blocked by Velthari hunters. "There," Kate pointed north. "Higher ground, better defensive position." "We'll never make it," Dan said. "They'll cut us down in the open." Kate grabbed the last chemical weapon from Lisa. "Not if we give them something else to think about." She stood up and hurled the improvised device toward the largest group of Velthari. The explosion created a cloud of glowing particles that drifted on the wind. Several aliens caught in the cloud began howling and clawing at their eyes. "Move! Now!" Kate shouted. The team ran north along the ridge, leaving their defensive position behind. Kate hoped the confusion caused by the chemical attack would give them enough time to reach better ground. They had covered maybe 100 meters when the first pursuit began. Kate could hear the Velthari behind them, their hunting calls echoing through the forest. But something had changed about the sound. There was anger in it now and something else. Fear. "Commander," Alex called out as they ran. "I'm picking up something interesting on my scanner." "What?" The Velthari. Their stress indicators are elevated: heart rate, body temperature, chemical, emissions. They're experiencing something they're not used to. Jake looked back over his shoulder. What's that? Losing, Alex said. They're losing hunters to human tactics. It's making them nervous. Kate felt a spark of hope. Predators who became nervous made mistakes. And humans were very good at exploiting mistakes. They reached a second rocky outcrop, higher than the first. Kate could see for miles in every direction. To the west, she spotted the glint of metal through the trees. Their shuttle. 2 kilometers, she said. We could reach it in 20 minutes, if we can get through their lines, Dan added. Lisa was studying the terrain with her engineer's eye. Look at the ground between here and there. It's mostly open. They'll see us coming. Kate pulled out her binoculars and studied the area around. Their shuttle. She counted at least 6 Velthari guards, probably more hidden in the forest. It's a trap, she concluded. They want us to try for the shuttle. Jake checked his rifle's charge. 8 shots left. Not enough for a running battle. The Velthari pursuit had reached the base of their new position. Kate could see them spreading, out to surround the outcrop. But they were being more cautious now. The chemical attacks had made them wary. Alex, what do you know about predator psychology? Kate asked. The doctor thought for a moment. Most predators are used to being the dominant force in any encounter. When that dynamic changes, they become confused and defensive. How do we change it more? Make them afraid of us instead of the other way around. Kate studied the aliens positioning themselves below. They moved with the fluid grace of perfect hunters, but Alex was right. Something about their behavior had changed. They were taking fewer risks, using more cover. They've never had prey fight back effectively, Kate realized. Their entire hunting strategy depends on victims who run in panic or freeze in terror. We're doing neither, Jake observed. Lisa was working on something with her equipment. I've been thinking about what the doctor said, about Velthari sensory organs. What if we could overload them completely? How? Lisa held up a small device. Our emergency beacon. It's designed to cut through atmospheric interference. If I modify the frequency and boost the power, it could cause permanent damage to their hearing, Alex finished, like a sonic weapon. How long do you need? Kate asked. 5 minutes, maybe less. Kate looked at the Velthari forces below. They were almost in position for another assault. You've got 3 minutes. Dan Torres had been listening to his communication equipment. Commander, I'm picking up signals from orbit. Kate felt her heart race. The horizon? Maybe. But the transmissions are weird. Like they're in some kind of code. Kate realized what was happening. The real crew of the Horizon was trying to warn the surface team that something was wrong. The shape-shifting Velthari infiltrators couldn't perfectly mimic human communication. Protocols, can you signal back? Kate asked. Dan worked frantically with his equipment. I think so. But I need a clear transmission window. The Velthari were moving up the slopes of the outcrop. Kate could see at least 12 of them, their camouflaged forms flickering between visible and invisible as they climbed. Time's up, Jake said, taking aim. Lisa held up her modified beacon. Ready? Kate took one last look at the aliens closing on their position. Zethvar was among them, his elegant form twisted into something nightmarish. His large eyes glowed with predatory hunger. Do it, Kate commanded. Lisa activated the sonic weapon. The sound that erupted from the device was beyond human hearing, but its effects on the Velthari were immediate and devastating. Every alien on the slope screamed and fell backward, clawing at their heads. Their perfect camouflage flickered and failed as they lost control of their shape-shifting abilities. Several of them tumbled down the rocky slope, unable to maintain their balance. Now we run, Kate shouted over the dying echoes of the sonic blast. But as they prepared to move, Dan Torres grabbed Kate's arm. Commander, wait. I'm getting a clear signal from the Horizon. They've regained control of the ship and they're sending down reinforcements. Kate looked up at the sky and saw the most beautiful sight of her life. 3 military shuttles were descending through the atmosphere, their weapon systems clearly visible. The cavalry had arrived. But the fight was far from over. The military shuttles touched down in the clearing where Kate's original transport had landed. She watched through her binoculars as armed Marines poured out of the vehicles, setting up a defensive perimeter. Dan, can you reach them? Kate asked. Taquo, communications officer, worked his equipment. Getting through now. This is Torres to rescue team. We have 5 survivors at grid reference 77 Alpha. A voice crackled through the static. Torres, this is Captain Miller, confirmed. We're tracking your position. Hold tight, we're coming to you. Kate felt relief wash over her, but she knew they were not safe yet. The Velthari were recovering from the sonic attack. She could see them regrouping in the forest below, their movements more cautious, but still determined. Jake, how many hostiles do you count? Kate asked. The Marine sergeant studied the terrain. Hard to say. They're good at hiding. But I see at least 20 confirmed positions. Alex Carter was monitoring his scanner. More coming from the settlement. Looks like they're bringing reinforcements too. Lisa Park finished packing her equipment. We should move toward the rescue team. This high ground won't matter much if they surround us completely. Kate made the call. We head for the landing zone. Stay together, watch for ambushes. They began their descent from the rocky outcrop. The Velthari kept pace with them, moving through the forest like ghosts. Kate could occasionally glimpse their camouflaged forms between the trees, but they made no immediate attacks. They're hurting us, Jake observed, pushing us toward the landing zone. Kate realized he was right. Every time they tried to deviate from the direct path, Velthari hunters appeared to block their way. The aliens were forcing them into a specific route. It's another trap, she said. They want us to lead the rescue team into an ambush. Dan checked his communicator. I can warn Captain Miller. Do it. Tell him to expect heavy resistance. As they moved through the forest, Kate noticed something that made her stomach turn cold. The trees around them were marked with deep claw scratches. Some of the marks were fresh, but others looked old. Years old. Alex, look at these markings, she said. The doctor examined the scratches. Territorial markers. But Kate, some of these are ancient. The Velthari have been using this hunting ground for decades. How many species do you think they've brought here? Lisa asked quietly. Alex ran his scanner over the old marks. Dozens, maybe hundreds. Each set of scratches represents a different prey species. Kate felt anger building in her chest. The Velthari had been luring intelligent beings to this world and hunting them for sport for generations. Humans were just the latest victims in a long line of slaughter. Not anymore, she said grimly. They reached the edge of the forest and could see the landing zone clearly. The Marines had set up a strong defensive position, but Kate could also see Velthari hunters moving through the trees around them. The trap was ready to spring. Dan, contact Miller again, Kate ordered. Tell him the hostiles are already in position around his perimeter. Before Dan could respond, the forest erupted in chaos. Velthari hunters launched their ambush against the Marine positions. Energy blasts lit up the clearing as both sides opened fire. Kate watched through her binoculars as the battle unfolded. The Marines were well-trained and disciplined, but they were fighting an enemy that could become invisible at will. Several Velthari hunters made it inside the defensive perimeter before being cut down. We need to help them, Jake said, raising his rifle. Wait. Kate stopped him. Look at how the Velthari are attacking. What do you notice? Jake studied the battle for a moment. They're not using their usual tactics. No coordination. Individual attacks instead of pack hunting. Alex was monitoring his scanner. Their stress levels are through the roof. Heart rates elevated, adrenaline spiking. They're fighting scared. Kate smiled grimly. The sonic attack did more than hurt them. It broke their confidence. They're not thinking like hunters anymore. She made a decision that would have seemed insane an hour ago. Instead of waiting for rescue, Kate led her team toward the battle. What are you doing? Dan asked in panic. Something the Velthari won't expect, Kate replied. We're going hunting. They approached the battlefield from an angle the aliens were not covering. Kate could see individual Velthari hunters trying to flank the Marine positions. They were so focused on their assault that they had no idea humans were approaching. From behind, Jake lined up his shot and dropped a Velthari that was about to attack a Marine squad. The alien fell without making a sound, its camouflage flickering off as it died. "Nice shot," Kate whispered. Lisa had jury-rigged another sonic device from their equipment. She activated it near a group of 3 Velthari hunters. The sound blast sent them stumbling into the open, where Marine fire cut them down immediately. Alex was using his knowledge of alien biology to target weak points in Velthari anatomy. His shots were not as powerful as Jake's rifle, but they were precise and effective. Kate moved through the forest like a ghost herself, using every piece of survival training she had ever received. She found isolated Velthari hunters and eliminated them before they knew she was there. The tide of battle began to turn. The Velthari hunters, already shaken by their earlier defeats, found themselves being hunted instead of hunting. Their perfect coordination broke down as fear took over. Kate reached the Marine perimeter and dove into cover beside Captain Miller. "Glad you could make it, Captain." Miller was a grizzled veteran with scars on his face. "Commander Morrison? Thought you were dead. What's the situation?" "We're fighting a species that's been hunting intelligent beings for thousands of years," Kate replied. "But they've never faced humans who fight back." Miller nodded and continued firing at Velthari positions. "My people pulled some interesting intelligence from your ship. Seems these aliens have infiltration specialists. They've been impersonating your crew." "How did you break their cover?" "Simple. We asked them questions only humans would know. Cultural references, childhood memories, personal details. The infiltrators couldn't fake that level of human experience." The battle was winding down. Most of the Velthari hunters were dead or retreating. But Kate knew the real threat was still out there. "Sethvar is still alive," she told Miller, their leader. "He'll try to regroup and launch another attack." Miller called for a status report from his squads. The Marines had taken light casualties but were in good fighting condition. More importantly, they had captured several Velthari weapons and pieces of equipment. Alex Carter examined the alien technology with fascination. "This is incredible. Their weapons adapt to different prey species automatically. Built-in biological scanners." "Can we use them?" Kate asked. "Maybe. But there's something else. These weapons have memory cores. They store data about every species the Velthari have hunted." Lisa looked up from her own examination of the alien equipment. "You mean there's a record of all their victims?" "More than that," Alex said excitedly. "There are files on hunting, strategies, prey behavior patterns, even locations of other hunting worlds." Kate felt a cold fury building inside her. The Velthari were not just random predators. They were organized. They had multiple hunting preserves across the galaxy where they brought intelligent species to be killed for entertainment. "Captain Miller," Kate said, "we need to get this information to Earth Command immediately." "Already working on it," Miller replied. "But first we need to deal with the remaining hostiles on this world." As if summoned by his words, a new sound echoed through the forest. Not the hunting calls they had heard before, but something deeper and more ominous. A war cry. "What was that?" Dan asked. Alex checked his scanner and went pale. "Large groups moving toward us from multiple directions. Lots of them." Kate looked through her binoculars toward the Velthari settlement. She could see hundreds of aliens emerging from the buildings, not just hunters, but their entire population. They're not retreating, she realized. They're calling in everyone. This is their final attack. Captain Miller assessed their situation. 3 shuttles, 40 Marines, plus your team, against how many? Alex studied his readings. At least 300, maybe more. The numbers were overwhelming. Even with superior weapons and training, the humans were outnumbered 7-1. But Kate Morrison looked at the alien equipment scattered around their position and had an idea that might even the odds. "Captain," she said, "how do you feel about turning their own weapons against them?" Miller grinned. "I like the way you think, Commander." Kate worked frantically with Alex and Lisa to understand the captured Velthari weapons. The alien technology was more advanced than anything humans had seen, but the basic principles were familiar enough. These targeting systems are designed to track specific biological signatures, Alex explained. But if we can reprogram them, Lisa finished the thought, we can make them target Velthari instead of their intended prey. Captain Miller distributed the modified weapons among his Marines. Each alien rifle could now identify and automatically track Velthari hunters even when they were using their camouflage abilities. How long until they reach us? Miller asked. Jake Sullivan had been monitoring their approach. 10 minutes, maybe less, they're moving fast. Kate studied the battle plan Miller had drawn in the dirt. The Marines would form a defensive circle around the shuttles. Human weapons would handle long-range targets, while the modified Velthari rifles dealt with camouflaged hunters. What about their leadership? Kate asked. If we can take out Zethvar and the other commanders, the rest might break. Miller nodded. Good thinking. You know this Zethvar better than anyone. Where will he be? Kate thought about the alien leader's behavior during their previous encounters. He thinks of himself as the ultimate predator. He'll want to be in the thick of the fighting, leading the final hunt personally. Dan Torres looked up from his communication equipment. Commander, I'm getting signals from orbit. The Horizon is requesting permission to provide orbital bombardment. Kate felt tempted for a moment. Orbital weapons could wipe out the Velthari settlement in minutes. But she shook her head. Negative, we need prisoners. Someone has to answer for all the species they've murdered over the centuries. The first wave of Velthari appeared at the edge of the forest. They moved in perfect formation, hundreds of hunters coordinating their approach with deadly precision. But something was different about their attack. They were being cautious. Too cautious. Look at them, Jake observed. They're afraid. Kate realized he was right. The Velthari were approaching like soldiers going into a dangerous battle, not predators pursuing helpless prey. The humans had fundamentally changed the dynamic of the hunt. They've never had to fight a species that could match their technology, Kate said. They don't know how to handle it. The battle began with long-range fire exchanges. Marine weapons reached out across the clearing, dropping Velthari hunters before they could get close. But the aliens had numbers on their side, and they kept coming. The modified alien rifles performed perfectly. Kate watched as camouflaged Velthari hunters became visible the moment they came within range. The weapons tracked them automatically, making it impossible for the aliens to use their primary advantage. But the real shock came when the Velthari reached close combat range. The humans did not break and run as every other prey species had done. Instead, they stood their ground and fought with a ferocity that matched their hunters. Kate found herself face to face with a Velthari warrior twice her size. Its claws flashed toward her throat, but her combat training kicked in. She ducked under the attack and drove her sidearm's muzzle into the alien's chest. The close-range blast sent it flying backward. Around the perimeter, Marines were engaging Velthari hunters in hand-to-hand combat. The aliens were stronger and faster, but the humans were more adaptable. They used teamwork, improvised weapons, and pure determination to overcome their physical disadvantages. Lisa Park had turned her engineering skills to battlefield innovation. She rigged explosive charges from shuttle components and threw them into groups of advancing aliens. Each blast took out multiple hunters and disrupted their attack formations. Alex Carter was using his knowledge of Velthari biology to maximum effect. He called out weak points and vulnerable areas to the Marines, turning his scientific expertise into tactical advantage. The tide of battle swung back and forth for what felt like hours, but was probably only minutes. Bodies of both species littered the clearing, but the humans held their ground. Then Kate saw him. Zethvar emerged from the forest, moving with the fluid grace of a perfect predator. But his elegant diplomatic facade was gone completely. This was the creature's true form. 8 feet of muscle, claws, and killing instinct. He made directly for Kate, recognizing her as the leader who had started this impossible resistance. His large eyes burned with fury and something else Kate had not expected to see. Respect. Kate Morrison, Zethvar said as he approached, his voice carrying clearly over the sounds of battle. You have surprised us. No prey species has ever fought back like this. Kate raised her weapon but did not fire immediately. We're not prey, we never were. Zethvar circled her like a cat stalking a mouse. Your species interests us. Perhaps we were wrong to hunt you. Perhaps we should have studied you longer. Too late for that, Kate replied. You made your choice when you decided to hunt humans. Now you get to live with the consequences. The alien leader laughed, a sound like breaking glass. You think you have won? This is one world. We have dozens of hunting preserves across the galaxy. Hundreds of species have fallen to us. Kate smiled, grimly. But none of them ever fought back the way we have. And now we know about your other worlds. We know about your hunting grounds and your victims. For the first time, Kate saw uncertainty in Zethvar's predatory gaze. What are you saying? I'm saying the galaxy is about to learn that humans don't just fight back when cornered, Kate said. We hunt down the monsters that prey on others, and we don't stop until they're all dead. Zethvar's uncertainty turned to fear. You would not dare. You are just one species among thousands. One species that just kicked your hunters all over this forest, Kate pointed out. One species that turned your own weapons against you. One species that refuses to be prey. The alien leader launched himself at Kate with inhuman speed. But Kate had been expecting the attack. She rolled aside and came up firing. Her shots caught Zethvar's center mass and sent him crashing to the ground as their leader fell. Something broke in the remaining Velthari hunters. Their perfect coordination shattered. Many of them turned and fled into the forest. Others threw down their weapons in surrender. Captain Miller's voice carried across the battlefield. Cease fire! Cease fire! We have prisoners to secure. Kate stood over Zethvar's body and felt no satisfaction in the kill, only determination. The Velthari had been hunting intelligent species for thousands of years. That reign of terror was about to end. Dan Torres approached with his communication equipment. Commander, we're getting transmissions from all over the galaxy. Word is spreading about what happened here. What kind of transmissions? Other species that survived Velthari hunts. They want to join us. They want revenge. Kate looked at the captured alien weapons and equipment scattered around the battlefield. Technology that could track any species, anywhere in the galaxy. Technology that was now in human hands. Captain Miller, Kate said, how soon can we get this intelligence to Earth Command? Already transmitted, Miller replied. Every piece of data we captured is on its way to the fleet. Kate nodded. The Velthari had made a critical mistake when they chose humans as their prey. They had awakened something they could not control or understand. Humanity's protective instincts. Alex, Carter was examining the memory cores from the alien weapons. Kate, you need to see this. The data includes coordinates for every Velthari hunting world, every preserved species, every ongoing hunt. How many worlds? 47 confirmed. Maybe more. Kate felt a cold fury settle in her chest. 47 worlds where innocent beings were being hunted for sport. Thousands of species living in terror of predators who saw them as entertainment. Not anymore. Dan, open a channel to the horizon, Kate ordered. Channel open, Commander. Kate looked up at the sky, knowing her words would be transmitted not just to her ship but across the entire galaxy through the networks they had captured. This is Lieutenant Commander Kate Morrison, to all Velthari forces in this sector. Your reign of terror is over. Humanity has claimed your hunting grounds. We have your weapons, your coordinates, and your prey species are now under our protection. She paused, letting the message sink in across the alien communication networks. To the Velthari leadership, wherever you are, you hunted the wrong species. Humans don't just survive predators. We eliminate them. We're coming for all of you. Kate closed the channel and looked at her team. They had survived something that should have been impossible. 5 humans against an entire world of apex predators. And they had won. But more importantly, they had sent a message that would echo across the galaxy for generations to come. Humanity was no longer prey. They were the new apex predators, and they hunted monsters. The Velthari had stalked Kate Morrison in silence, expecting easy prey. Instead, they had awakened something that would hunt them to extinction across every world they had claimed. The age of human expansion had begun, and it would be built on the bones of those who had preyed upon the innocent. Kate Morrison looked at the setting sun and smiled. Tomorrow, the real hunt would begin.